Hello, everyone. Welcome to Amplified, the podcast where we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming industries and amplifying human potential. I'm your host, Ishan Majumdar, a high school junior curious about how technology, design, and storytelling come together to make a positive change. Today, I'm excited to welcome Josh Mooney, Senior Vice President at WongDoody, a creative agency and experience design company. WongDoody blends strategy, design, and technology to create a memorable brand and product experiences. Josh brings deep experience at the intersection of creative direction, UX, and technological innovation, which makes him a perfect guest to talk about how AI is reshaping creativity and user experience. In this episode, we'll explore how AI is being used in the creative agencies from sorry, and to prototyping, to personalization and measuring impact, and what this means for designers, brands, and audiences. Josh, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here.
Good, good. So just tell the audience a little bit about what you do and what WongDoody does.
For sure. So, first of all, it's not a made up name, it's our founder's
Yeah.
last name. So, Tracy Wong founded it 30 years ago as an ad agency with his best friend,
Mhm.
Pat Doody. And Pat retired a while back, but we have been, creating global ad campaigns, retail
Mhm.
experiences, product launches, digital apps and websites for big companies and were acquired by Infosys 7 years ago. So we are fully immersed, integrated into Infosys, the global IT consulting company, and serve as their experience design arm, as you said. And for experience design, that's employee experience, customer experience, partner experience, and how those come to life through digital technologies, whether it's in store or a productivity tool that a team would use at a big company. But we still do advertising as well.
Yeah.
And I joined about a month after the deal closed. So I was new to WongDoody, though I had known the owners and founders from my previous life, where I ran a digital agency
Mhm.
called Juxt for many years, Juxt. And we were acquired by a holding company as well. And so I think Tracy and team remembered that I had sold something to a bigger company and gave me a call and said, we've just sold the company to Infosys. Can you help us tell the Wong Duty story up into this big global company? And I said, who's Infosys? Because I had no experience prior with, the systems integrator
Mhm.
world or the basically selling into CIOs and CTOs and kind of being this bridge between marketing and technology, which is really what Long Duty is as a part
Yeah.
of Emphasis.
Yeah. Yeah. And WongDoody is certainly a name that sticks. Like Infosys. It's a good name, but you hear WongDoody and it stays in your brain a little bit longer.
That's
Yeah.
right. And a lot of the Infosys clients are like, wait, what's a Long Duty? I want to know about that. So it
Yeah.
has been, we were 130 people
Mhm.
when the deal closed, Ashant.
Yeah.
We are now 2,000 people.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's been
Significant.
incredible growth,
Yeah.
really, repositioning, I think, Infosys in a lot of clients' minds, and saying, "Oh, wow, this isn't what I would expect you guys to ask me about in this meeting," or you're bringing such, interesting ideas to how we engage audiences, and so. The premise was not mine, obviously. It was some much smarter people than I decided to bring these two worlds together,
Mhm.
but it's been a terrific adventure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's jump into our first question. WongDoody, of course, the creative industry. How does WongDoody currently use AI or generative tools in the creative process? Ideation, prototyping, and personalization.
You're hitting on all the big ones for sure. And last, I'd probably say scale, right? Being able to create assets for our clients across so many different medium in different languages, targeting different audiences. That's really the power of Gen AI tools. But yes, it definitely starts even before ideation. It helps in the strategy of what we're doing.
Mm,
So, the chat GPTs of the world and Claudes and these kinds of tools, I think really are creating better briefs for strategy teams and creative teams to launch from. We're not, using it verbatim, right? But as a tool to round out some of the assumptions we're making about a target audience, to bring, other ideas from other arenas into the picture. So it all starts with a creative brief,
mhm,
really. Who's the target audience? What are we trying to communicate? What are the tools at our disposal? Is this a niche digital marketing campaign that's going to live on some key blogs, or is it a Super Bowl spot?
mhm,
Right. So that brief nails down our objectives. And then, yes, it can obviously be a tool to help with ideation, with bouncing ideas off things, brainstorming, facilitating a brainstorm. So we are absolutely using it in the upfront.
absolutely.
But where it gets super exciting is in the creation process,
Mhm,
where really it is, whether it's an animation tool, whether it's, Firefly from Adobe, or some of the video editing tools that are out there, it's allowing us to produce content much faster,
mhm.
to produce, content at scale potentially in really exciting ways. So it's definitely put the ad agency world sort of on its heels a bit of like, wow, kind of like at the dawn of the internet. I know it
Yeah,
predates
yeah.
you, Ishant, but the internet, certainly I was around for the tail end of the beginning of that, I guess. I started my career, I mean, pretty much after the internet had
Mhm,
started, but
yeah,
I was in these creative agencies who were still totally relying on digital natives, they called them, like, hey, let's bring in these young kids to come in because they live on the internet and they can tell us how this is going to be used in our traditional creative process. And that same kind of thing is happening now, and
yeah.
we're calling them AI natives, and that we need
Mm,
AI experts to come in. And they're expensive and they're really interesting the way they bring, new tools that are changing every day into our processes. But yes, we are leveraging AI platforms and frameworks to get work done faster.
yeah, absolutely. And from personal experience, like when I started these podcasts, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was using a tool called Descript, and what it does, it takes the video, takes the audio, and then instantly generates a full transcript of the entire thing with captions and everything, which
I
is
saw that on
yeah,
one of your last
yeah.
shows. That was super cool. I was curious how that got done so well and efficiently.
And it's a not a oh, I don't want to say old technology, but it's not as new as some of the others. But the thing I found really interesting is that within the podcast, let's say I mess up a word, I misspeak something, something is off, right? You can go in and you can type what's supposed to happen, and it'll train a voice model based off that person's voice, and then it'll whatever you type, it'll say as if they said it in the official recording, and
Whoa.
it just speeds up the process so much. Like and like things like uhs or ums are instantly taken out, and those little like small little things to just speed it up so much. And I think it's just interesting.
Also, but couldn't it change the content too? I mean,
Absolutely,
you could go
absolutely.
in and
Malicious intent.
replace emphasis with Accenture every time I said
Yeah,
emphasis.
yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, yeah, and things are like scams are even happening, scam calls, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. In WongDoody though, you were talking about things like strategies and how it's used like that. Can you share a specific project where AI materially changed the design outcome of you or user experience, or a specific strategy you used with AI?
Sure. I'd love to talk about our Mitsubishi project
Mhm.
where we were leveraging the power of Watson X on an engagement for a car microsite, a car website, and integrating the AI platform called Orchestrate from IBM into the chatbot experience. And that just blew our minds in terms of how you could make that relatable to the Mitsubishi brand, that it could be like it was really coming from the best Mitsubishi salesperson, and have that sort of, humor and
Mhm.
intelligence and personalized content based on what it's asking you about, or what information you're providing the chatbot. And so that was our first exposure to the power of just a massively powerful agentic tool, and
Mhm.
how that can be integrated in a customer facing experience into a marketing execution, right? So different than, Delta having a great chatbot for me to change my flight. That's pretty transactional. What was really interesting was seeing personality come from a chatbot, and
Mm.
also weaving in creativity to it. What we did was, instead of, just showing you, let's say you were asking about a third row of seats, for your brother's car seat. I don't think you have a baby brother, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of just telling you the dimensions of it and what size car seat it could fit, we generated a 3D rendering of the back seat on the fly, and
Wow.
put a car seat in it, and just showed you how the configuration could work based on what we've learned about you in that chat.
That's
So
amazing.
I know. I
Yeah.
think the anything you can dream can be created in AI. I think is going to be incredibly powerful on behalf of advertisers, right? It's already impacting Hollywood. Lots of, content creators, big and small, are out there leveraging it.
Yeah.
Scammers, lots of ways. But in terms of how brands, that's really what we're looking at. How
Mhm.
brands can step into that. Um, the power is incredible. Now,
Amazing.
there is legal issues, right? Like indemnification, and who owns these AI created
Mhm.
assets, and how do we train the models to make sure that they're saying the right things all the time. We're still figuring a lot of that out, but thankfully, the Infosys and IBM teams are far ahead of where we're at.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not too familiar with the phrase. You said, "Damn it!" What was it? Danimification.
Indemnification. Yeah.
Mm.
Who's going to legally stand by this content as being, not something that's going to expose the brand to a
Mm.
lawsuit?
I see.
Right?
I see.
So if you wanted to buy a car and we're asking about its safety features, and
Mhm.
suddenly the LLM starts telling you stuff that's not maybe true, because there
Mm.
are hallucinations and things that
Absolutely.
aren't right,
Absolutely.
you could then sue the car company. So
Yeah.
who's the thankfully the LLMs,
Mhm.
those companies, they do stand by
Yeah.
what their AI tools are, putting out there. So it's not going to be on, say, the consulting firm, but it is presenting some really interesting challenges.
Yeah, but I think with the advent, it's been a couple of years, so there's now a little bit more safeguards, and there's more legal stuff around it. They understand a little bit more. Um,
Are you frustrated sometimes with the wrong answers you get from ChatGPT and Claude and things?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and but I think there's a visual difference over the years. Like when it first started, right? It was obviously amazing, but it wasn't perfect. I want to say it's a junior, very very junior developer intern kind of thing, and it wasn't at the ability to make applications by itself. But now if you're looking at like Claude Code or Cursor, if you've heard those kinds of things,
Mhm.
within a couple of hours it can make a fully fledged app. From UI UX design to the back end to the logic, it has everything going for it. That's just all by itself is insane. Yeah,
Yes. And we are definitely vibe coding and using those tools to create prototypes of
Mhm.
apps and lighter sort of, you know, microsites and things on the fly. So
Mhm. Yeah.
definitely leveraging that to create content faster. We're also using it to power design systems for
Mhm.
bigger websites, and how you go from like Figma is that
Yeah,
amazing
yeah.
tool that kind of showcases what the design could look like. sort of in a clickable
Mhm.
prototype,
Yeah.
and then how you get that into code, right? How
Mm.
you move that over to their CMS, their content management tool or platform, and do so in a really efficient
Mm.
way.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have a proprietary tool that we've built that sort of tokenizes pieces of Figma and plugs it into, whatever platform they're using to power all their websites so they can make changes in
Mm.
a much more efficient way.
Absolutely. I actually haven't heard of that. I'm familiar with Figma, but going straight from Figma to uh, the code itself is I didn't realize that was possible.
Yep. We're out on the forefront of it, but plenty of other companies are. It's really
Yeah.
exciting time.
But with AI designing and that kind of thing, how do you balance speed and scale from AI with the need for authenticity and craft and creative work in a creative agency?
Absolutely. Humans are still a big part of this. Absolutely. And I think it is some education on our part to share with clients and say, no, I can't do this in 2 weeks just because we have these great tools,
Yeah.
right? We want to leverage the power of AI and the power of creativity
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts with doing that research. The research can be done faster, but oftentimes we don't want to just rely on tools, digital tools for research. We want to go talk to people.
Yeah.
So we want to do focus groups. We want to shadow. We want to really understand the inner workings of a person and what's going to drive that
Mm.
behavior that we're trying to trigger. So the research process can certainly be trimmed a bit, but we don't want to, cut it too much. And then that ideation, that concepting phase, we think people are still completely crucial to that. So
Yeah.
we want the tools to augment the power of
Mhm.
human creativity, but not to replace it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 But even then, of course, things like the overall idea, that's fully human. But let's say I had an idea, right? And I wanted to bring it to life. I'd tell Claude Code, can you create me something like this? Like there was an idea a couple days back, and it was like for a lot of companies, right? It's kind of similar to descripting. They have these phone calls, but they don't have transcripts, right? It's a lot kind of hard unless you're taking notes to remember what went on in that. So if there was, let's say, so I told Claude, hey, can you generate this thing where it listens into audio and then, gives me an interface to look at it? And the design itself, there were some issues with the code, but the design itself, I think I was impressed by because, a couple months back, I wasn't able to make a fully coherent design.
Mm.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
And
And
it's just going to get better, right? I mean, just
yeah, it's just going to get,
imagine where it'll be in a year or 2 years.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think the role of the creative agency is to help guide clients in this fast changing world,
Mhm.
right? They've got internal resources that are trying to keep up with the business demands while also checking out these tools. And then they've got legacy agency partners that are just doing things the same way. So
Mhm.
there is this unique role, and we're calling it kind of an AI maturity engagement that we're doing for several clients right now, where you step in and play that consultative role to say, okay, what is the existing kind of low hanging fruit that we can empower your internal teams with to
Mhm.
do things faster, right? That maybe they don't need to go to a creative agency or the in house design team, they can do it themselves. What sort of things can we power that internal design function to do to work faster, to get more done with less, as they're often challenged to do? And then, sort of a agency rationalization exercise to
Mhm.
say, okay, you've got a couple of really big vendors, some smaller folks, some regional players around the world. How do we help you sort of streamline that? And WongDoody can take on some of that because we've got,
Yeah.
resources in India. AI can help streamline a lot of this, and then sort of build out for them a roadmap for how the marketing teams, the internal design teams, and the external ad partners can all leverage these tools.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's really interesting. And with this, what kind of new roles or skills are emerging on creative teams because of the new technology and that these new workflows that are rising?
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be back to that kind of AI native need
Hmm.
of creative directors and copywriters
Yeah,
and art directors. They're
yeah,
going to have to be really versed in these tools,
absolutely.
as well as the existing tools, Photoshop and the Adobe suite
Hmm.
and things like that. So I think that's from a pure creative side. And then there is sort of this hybrid creative technologist role that really has been evolved over the last year because of AI. They used to, dabble in 20 different technologies and be the person to come alongside the creative team and tell them whether that idea was possible and the time frame and budget or had been done before or something else. And now it's really that creative technologist speaking on behalf of all the different LLMs and tools that we can help, speed up the building of, the building of these ideas and not so much the ideation piece.
I
So
see.
it's a little more technical,
Yeah.
than I think it used to be in terms of what this role is going to be, but super exciting role. I can't imagine, if you were going to a art center or one of these big design programs, this is the role I would say focus on, right? To be that AI consultant to a creative department, I think
Absolutely.
is going to be hugely, hugely valuable.
I actually wasn't aware of the position, creative, like combining like the creative aspect of it and technology. I didn't even know that was something that had existed. That's quite fascinating. Yeah.
It pays well, Ishant. I
and
think you might want to look at that as a career.
and
Um,
let's
and
say
then I
from,
think the other one is sort of like workflows,
mm,
process.
mhm,
We're calling them, frameworks, and how companies can look at to consultants to come in and help them create content at scale.
yeah.
And what is the role of AI in that?
Mhm,
Because, the no one should ever see a generic piece of content from a brand again, right? There's
mhm,
just no excuse. Everything should be personalized to right where you are in your journey with that brand, right? You might be a huge fan of, PlayStation, and they know exactly your purchase
mhm,
history and where you're at in your console cycle, and they should only talk to you, right? As a diehard PlayStation guy. Maybe
mhm.
you're not at all. Maybe you haven't bought one in years. But if that's the case, they should know that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And there should be no way. And they should speak completely different to me
Mhm,
because we're an Xbox house and we're only Xbox and we've never bought a PlayStation. So I think, there's a million examples of that, of like, how long is the buying journey? Is it a very impulse purchase, or is it something you research and think about for weeks and weeks? And AI, especially chatbots and
mhm,
AI tools and things that are going to step into that and shorten those cycles, right?
yes.
Make you an expert in Alaskan cruises way faster than you were a year ago because of these amazing tools that
Mhm.
can step into that. And that's where I am. I mean, have you started to notice brands show up in ChatGPT more and Claude?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And direct links too. That's another thing I'm noticing.
Mhm.
Direct links. And do you think that like direct links and the AI in that kind of process, do you think it's speeding that process from discovery of like product to purchase of product? Do you think that's being sped up?
Heck yes, absolutely. There is going to be so much commerce, paid ads,
Mhm.
sponsored ads in these things. I mean, Google's sort of the leader in
Yeah,
monetization of search, right? So whether it's Gemini or the AI sponsored section, like they're going to crush it.
yeah.
I think it's still going to be interesting to see what Perplexity and Anthropic and
Mhm.
OpenAI do in this space. I'm sure they're hiring the smartest people and paying them ridiculous amounts of money, right, to come in and help them monetize.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just looking for a travel idea
Mm.
for Thanksgiving week, and it was like, "Do you want Trip?" It just asked me, "Do you want TripAdvisor to power these results?"
Huh. Yeah.
Right? I had
I
never seen that
yeah,
before. I
yeah.
thought it was right in the results that there was a link next to it, and I could go look at the
Mhm.
TripAdvisor link. But it just boom right in my face in the box. How about TripAdvisor powers this whole thing? I was like,
Amazing. Huh.
I mean, I was like, that's not why I came to ChatGPT. I've spent a
Yeah.
lot of time on that. It should know what I'm interested in. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have to just be on the generic TripAdvisor website that doesn't know my preferences, that doesn't know, my wife's not going to want to be in the sun and my other son's not going to want to do that. I mean, that's the power, I think, of agentic, is
Mhm.
that it's personalized to you and doesn't have to treat you like
Yeah.
a nameless customer.
And I think what's happening because of that, there's a statistic, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's that more people are visiting LLMs like ChatGPT than Wikipedia now for things like search, right? Because now the results that are coming, like if I, let's say, what video game should I buy? Let's say, it's just going to be Google's just going to give me like the top 10 results, what everyone's doing. But ChatGPT is going to look through my search history. Okay, he's been interested in this. He's been interested in this sports. Maybe we should give him NBA 2K. Or instead, let's say, oh, he's been interested in this thing. Maybe we should give him this video game. And it like based off, what it learns about you. I think that's going to be changing.
And in a couple of years, it's just going to send you the game. And it's going to say, right? It's going to be like, you're ready for this. I know you're going to like it. And you're just going to sit back and plug it. And it's going to say, here's the snack we know you want. It's brand new. Here's, this. We're going to call your grandma because you haven't talked to her in a while. Like it's going to be,
Yeah.
we're just going to be just sitting back and like Elon said, we're going to work for like an hour a day and AI is just going to live our lives for us. A little scary,
So
but
yeah, it's certainly a little scary. Yeah. But going back to what you said about combining creative and technology, let's say for a student like me, well, where do I start to get into a role like that in the future? Where should I start right now?
I think just learn the tools just
Mhm.
as much as you can. Watch videos about the tools, get free versions, get college, get student access to things. Hopefully, they open that up and, you know, push ahead and try to. It'd be great if you could get to know maybe through LinkedIn, like some
Yeah,
of these product teams and give them
absolutely.
feedback on some of the new features that you're seeing and maybe cross reference it. Because I mean, there's a lot of players right now, but it's going to get smaller, right?
Mm.
Apple's going to buy somebody. Do you
Mhm.
think they're going to buy Perplexity or Anthropic? Or no, I guess Perplexity is more Amazon. Are they going to buy Anthropic? What's Microsoft's story? They're so invested in OpenAI. Where's Facebook headed with Llama and all this? It's like
Yeah.
there's going to be a shorter list of winners. So the faster that you can start placing your bets on the one that's really going to be out there and maybe even build a little bit of a consulting practice is like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm the guy maybe small businesses go to or regional, local friends of friends who hear and just want my point of view on this.
Mhm.
You're going to be able to charge for that, Ishant.
Absolutely.
There's not enough people my age that could tell you what the latest features of Claude are doing. It's just
Mhm.
we can't keep up.
Absolutely. And with like the advent, a lot of these small little companies, I think one of the best things is a competition, right? Because these LLMs, they're getting the cost per token is getting smaller and smaller, but the quality is increasing because they're all competing against each other. I think it's pretty interesting.
It's
And
super interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I think you're doing a great job by bringing in experts. I'm not an expert, but I
Oh,
appreciate you being
there's so
kind
much.
enough to let me share my thoughts. But I think push even higher, ask really compelling folks to come in and share their thoughts on this, syndicate it across,
Mhm.
the web. And I think, yeah. How many episodes of this have you done now?
Um, well, officially, I've done around two. One of them I'm not sure if I'm gonna publish because it's a little too long. It's about an hour, so I might chop it up into episode 1 and 2,
Wow.
and then
I am super honored to be your second, maybe third guest. It's going to be, you're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, dude, I can't wait to see the luminaries in technology and creativity that you're going to
absolutely.
get to interview. But
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely. This has been an inspiring conversation. Thank you so much.
No
And
problem.
to our audience, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Email me at ishantmajumdar@gmail.com. And I send us ideas, or if you want to be a guest, please contact us. And thank you for listening to Amplified.